Hey, this is Josh with 243 Outdoors. Today I got my Ruger American Predator and 6.5 Creedmoor out, and we're going to be putting a 20 MOA rail on it. This is the Evolution Gunworks EGW 20 MOA HD rail, and we'll do a little step-by-step installation on it. Alright, to get started, I want the scope back in the same position, so I'm going to put a piece of electrical tape up front of the sunshade on the barrel to mark where it was. And that'll get it pretty close because the eye relief is about where I want it, so that'll mark that. You'll want a good set of Torx bits. I got a set here. I also have my fat wrench torque wrench we'll be using, and I got a little bevel level from the hardware store the other day, and this will make sure everything's all leveled up when we're done. I'm also going to put a piece of tape where these rings are. Try to get them close back to the same position they was. You also want to make sure you keep the caps in the same place they was, facing the same direction. You don't want to mix them up. Alright, we'll start off by loosening the caps. Alright, now that we got the caps loose, we're going to take these off, lay them to the side, and keep them in the same orientation that you took them off. At this point, we can take our scope off and lay it to the side. Alright, at this point, we're going to take a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch drive socket, and we're going to loosen our rings from the base. And we're going to set that by the cap it went with. And we will set the other one by the other cap. Right, next we'll take the appropriate size Torx bit, and we're going to put it in the ratchet. Sometimes these can be pretty tough to get out, but we'll see here. Just make sure you have the right size bit in it. These seem to be no problem at all. Alright, now it's loose, we will take it off. I'm going to take a shop towel here, and we're going to clean all this excess oil off the top. I'm going to take a little rubbing alcohol here and kind of degrease it. I'm going to clean out the holes just a little bit and kind of degrease them. Okay, we'll wipe out the excess and give that a minute or so to dry. Go ahead and get our new rail opened up. We'll lay the instructions down. It says EGW recommends using blue Loctite on the mount screws that are included with the mount and torque them at 20 inch-pounds. As you can see here, the back end is a little higher than the front end. That's how you'll know which direction it goes, because it'll make your scope point downward a little bit. They got a piece of tape on the back, I guess, to help tell you that, which that's going to need cleaned up too now. We'll go ahead and test fit it, see what it's going to look like. Looks something like that right there. We'll go ahead and degrease our screws a little bit, make sure they're clean. We will be using blue Loctite on these today. I did not Loctite nothing before because I knew I'd be taking it back apart. I have no reason to take it back apart after today, so we will go ahead and Loctite everything up. We want everything cleaned as we can get it. Alright, we've got everything cleaned up and degreased. So we'll go ahead and set this rail up here. We got the blue Loctite here. We'll put just a dab on each one of these screws. Just a little dab is all it needs. We'll drop that down in there and start it. Not going to run it all the way just yet till we get all four in. Let's go ahead and go to the opposite end. Just going to snug these all up till there's no more play in them. Everything looks good. It says to torque them down to 20 inch-pounds. So I'll be using my fat wrench here. I'll do this in a few steps. I'm going to start at 10 inch-pounds. And I'll jump up to 15. And then we'll set it at 20 inch-pounds, and that'll be our final torque. You do not want to over tighten these. If you'd strip out or break one of them off in the receiver, it wouldn't be good. Alright. Next thing we're going to do is get the gun leveled up, see how we're at. Use my little bubble level. Right there looks pretty good. Now we're going to try to get the rings close as they was before. This rail is just a little bit longer. So I'm going to kind of test fit this about right here. Probably one more. Test fit that one about right there. We'll put that one right there. We're going to get our scope, kind of see where it sits. We're lined up with our tape, so the front one needs to come back about I'd be happy with that right there. So the rings to the base, the torque is 65 inch-pounds. Before we tighten them down, I am going to put just a dab of Loctite on these also. I don't want them getting loose. Okay, now that we got that, we're going to test fit our scope again. this point you can take these two pieces of tape off because we won't need them anymore. I'm going to align it with my front piece of tape. So we're going to make sure our rings are pushed far forward. That way the recoil won't affect them. Scope setting squarely in the rings, and I'm going to snug it down to 20 inch-pounds to start out with. Going ahead and jump it up to 30 here. We're going to 65. Go ahead and do it at 40. There's 50. And we'll go ahead and go up to the 65. And that's high as this torque wrench goes to. All right. At this point, we're going to want to make sure we get everything leveled up before we place our scope in. I'm going to set the scope back off to the side. We'll use our little level here. We want to check the base and also the rings both. Right there is pretty close. And that's the same. And that's also the same. So we'll set our scope in place. We'll line it up with our piece of tape on the barrel and put our level on top. We want that level exactly the same as it was. And as you tighten down your screws, it may move a little bit. Don't see nothing wrong with that, so I'm also going to be Loctiting these here. Go ahead and set our cap in place. Put just a dab of Loctite on it. Now that we got Loctite on all of them, we'll just snug them down. Get right size bit again. Now as you snug these up, you want to get your gap in the ring somewhat equal if you can. Makes it look a lot better. The gap looks pretty close, so we'll stop with that side and we will put the other side on. We'll repeat the same process we did for the other side. Alright, I've got them all started. They're not tight at all yet, and we're going to double check our level again. We'll start with the scope. The way this bubble is right here, it is just touching the line to my left. So we want to duplicate that on the other side. And I don't see nothing wrong with that at all. So the rings need to be torqued down to 20 inch-pounds. So we'll be using the fat wrench again. get it adjusted back down. We'll start around 5 inch-pounds to start out with. Probably won't even make it click just yet. You want to alternate side to side to make sure everything's even. We'll be checking our level a couple more times. Check our gaps once again. They're staying pretty close. Check our level. Looks like we're right on where we need to be. So we'll go ahead and crank our torque wrench up to 10. And I'll start in the middle. Go ahead and turn our torque wrench up to 20. So this will be our final torque at 20 inch-pounds. We'll start on the opposite side. And one last time we'll check our level. It hasn't moved any since we started. Go ahead and take our piece of tape off the barrel. Alright, so that completes our install of our 20 MOA base on the American Predator here. This is my 6.5 Creedmoor. Basically what it's done is pointed the scope downward 20 minutes of angle. That would be 20 inches at 100 yards. It's not very much. You can't even really notice that it's on it, but what it does is it'll allow you to get more elevation out of your scope. This is a 100 MOA scope, so generally when you're zeroed on a stock base, you'll have 50 minutes of adjustment up or down. You would never adjust down, so that's basically wasted. So what this is doing is allowing you to get 20 more. So if you could dial 50 minutes before, theoretically you should be able to dial 70 now. That'll vary just a little bit, but that's basically what we're doing. By my calculations, this gun and the stock setup would have been able to shoot about 1,300 yards before the scope would have maxed out, and this will get it a little bit farther out there. My goal is basically this year or next year to get this gun out and make a mile shot with it, and it's definitely going to have the 20 MOA base on it. I'll probably still have to do a little bit of a holdover to obtain this goal, but this is one step in the right direction. That's all I got to show you today. I want to thank everybody for watching. Any comments, leave them below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button. Share it with your friends if you want to, and we will catch you later.